them face off against each other. This is the level of thing. And just to be clear, I'm not like saying like Russia is bad for this. This is something every nation state is doing now or trying to do. It's just a matter of who's better and worse at it. If the United States, the issue is the United States, you need a lot of legal authority on certain sorts of things, so this sort of stuff doesn't happen as much. And also there's a sense in which we want to keep the appearance of not meddling in elections and that sort of thing. And the ways different nations go about it are different. But this is just like classic propaganda and affecting foreign nations. So, you know, one way of getting Americans to not really care about what else is going on, they're so pissed off at each other. So if you're a group of people who's in Texas and you think that, you know, the foreigners are taking over, and you suddenly see somebody who started a web page that says, stop the Islamization of Texas, or something like, yeah, look, I'm not alone. There are other people who believe like me. And I'm going to get together with those 200 other people, and we're going to have a rally. And then you get there, and then there's people on the other side who are set up arguing against you. You're like, that's proof. That's the Islamization of Texas. That's what we need to stop. And those on the other side are like, and that is proof that Texans hate us, and we need to, like, you know, keep our traditions alive and respect each other. And this is literally setting up a fight designed to make sides hate each other even more. All of it arranged probably from the same floor by the same group of people who, you know, it's basically just trolls on the internet. And this is what warfare and conflict looks like now. This is, like, I'm not even sure how to categorize this. This is propaganda of the sort you'd only see in war, but we're not at war. Christina.
Yeah, so I was wondering, like, did they do anything legally wrong? Because that seems really, like, screwed up what they did. Like,
And this is the issue, and this was the Mueller report, is it's unclear. And here's the thing on top of it, which we'll talk about more. Say we decide that was illegal. Say that that's an illegal thing. What's going to happen? What can be done about it? So, yeah, one thing you can, so say you're the United States, you find out this, you're going to write a strongly worded email to Russia. And what is Russia going to say, presumably? We didn't do it. No, it's in the same way that, like, to this day, the American government has never come out and said we're responsible for Stuxnet. They've denied it. It's like, we didn't do it. No, that was we have no idea where that came from. You don't admit it, because if you admit it, then you can get, like, told bad things. So, what's the next step? You might try to introduce sanctions, or you try to put more economic pressure. What are the worries about this? Just geopolitically, what does Russia have a lot of resources-wise? Anyone know?
Gas and oil.
Yeah, gas and oil. Who relies on that gas and oil to keep their power and heating going? Yeah, Europe. You know, Germany, UK, France, a lot of our closest allies. You know what they wouldn't want to get a call from the president saying? Hey, we're putting sanctions on Russia, enjoy the cold winter. Which is literally what, so there's this sort of like the way it's all connected. So yes, you can say like, oh, this is a problem. This needs to stop, but you're almost, the world is so interconnected that if you play the cards right, as long as you don't do something so outrageous, you can get, and this is the part of the Gerasimov doctrine, is that you can keep, if you keep everything below a certain level, no one is going to really call you out. And this is the thing about cyber, is it has the power to cause damage on a scale of a nuclear bomb minus the radiation. You can shut down all the power. You can shut down a hospital. You can gather huge amounts of information. But as long as you don't do it to such an outrageous degree and no shots are fired and you can't see the smoking gun, no one really calls each other out on it. So there's ways in which when hacks happen and you lose your information, there's no guarantee that anyone's going to be punished for it. And there's no guarantee even that anyone's going to admit to it. And this is just the way it is, where because the world is so interconnected, that when you start to combine all of these in such a way that you never have to go to war and you can just get your desires as a nation in other ways, you don't realize as a citizen the ways in which you're being affected. Or the ways in which, like, Olympic Games changed the ball game because as soon as that was done, every other nation got on board and the world became a less safe place. Your bank accounts were less safe. Your ability to access your information was less safe. And yet it was done behind closed doors, no talking about it. And like that is another thing to keep in mind. Is the world is such that because all of this is happening and there's so much deniability, many people don't even know this is happening. So.
In my opinion, I think that the reason like it's a big issue, like yeah, the cyber issues are there, like being able to govern it. But I think like it's the means, like because like a lot of these instances are happening as a means of like last resort, and like that's what the issue is to me. Is like because even in a war, like when you're fighting in a war and it's a landslide, and then you're winning or whatever, somebody's gonna take that last resort means to win that war, and that's probably what's making it so like. Because I see like in all these instances, like even with Kim Jong, I'm sorry, I'm not really.
Yeah, it's okay. There've been a lot of Kim.
Yeah.
There was Kim Jong.
Yeah.
Il. And then who was the first one?
Kim Jong first.
Kim. Oh, it was Kim Il Sung, I think first.
Yeah.
Then Kim Jong Il, and now Kim Jong Un.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But even in that case, like when they told him, when they said to get rid of the movies, they said no, there's freedom of speech, so he just went on last resort mission, like to get it done.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is it's now much easier to pull going back to one of the early classes. It used to be if you wanted to stop someone before there was any type of technology, you had to literally physically stop someone, and you were limited by your physical body. Like if that person was twice as big as you, there was nothing you could do. Now you can wipe out every member of their entire extended family's power network if you know what you're doing well enough.
It's like the so-called red button in the White House.
Yeah, there's a red button which launches the nukes, but these days you don't even have to launch a nuke to shut the power out. And not only that, if you launch a nuke, they know it's coming. They see it in the sky. If you just shut down the power grid, no one even necessarily knows who it was because there's so much malware in all the power grids that no one knows where it's coming from. And this is the thing, it's just like the nature of conflict and warfare, and the line between like, this last sort of case is showing that in a cyber world, it's no longer even really the case that you can define what all of these are. Because if somebody's not officially fighting for an army, then it's not war, it's a crime. Or it's, a resistance movement, or it's terrorism. And if you are stealing information from Google and giving it to your government, it's both espionage and diplomacy for your government, and also a crime. And you'd be punished by not like international sanctions, but just criminal law. But then there's the added fact that you're never going to get extradited. And that's the other fact, is much harder to punish and like individuals, because individuals are attacking from hidden places around the world.
I was kind of thinking like, okay, we're fucked. But then I realized that kind of thinking means like we have to kind of surrender to it, and then it makes me like realize that you can't even surrender to this because it's just getting started. Like this is nothing. All
and
that we're
here's
talking about.
the main takeaway from this is this stuff is fundamentally different from what's come before in so many ways that we as people who understand computers and everything else need to reconsider